Good afternoon, Miss Carletha. Thank you for joining me here today. Is it okay that I call you by Miss Carletha, or would you like to be called something else?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. And Cardiff will be fine.
Perfect. Well, I would first like to start by introducing myself and telling you just a little bit about who I am, my background, and my qualifications, if that's okay with you.
Okay, that'd be nice.
Awesome. So, as you know, my name is Carmen. I am a therapist and have been a therapist for about 10 years now. I have been working with both adults and children, and I recently just started private practice.
That's nice to hear.
So before we get started, I would like to go over some policies and procedures with you, which you have here in your hand. I also have a copy right here.
Thank you.
So if you just want to follow along with me, if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me, okay?
Sure, that'll be just fine. This is my first time coming to therapy, so I'm a little nervous.
I totally understand that coming to therapy is a big leap, so I first want to applaud you on making that leap. The first thing I want to discuss is our confidentiality policy with you. Would that be okay?
Yes, I'm assuming that everything is kind of like Vegas. What's said in here stays in here. Am I correct?
So, yes, to a certain extent, you are correct. There are some things that I would have to break the confidentiality policy for. And those are things if you just disclose child abuse, elder neglect, or anything like that, I would have to, or that you're going to hurt yourself or hurt somebody else, I would have to break our confidentiality and alert the proper authorities. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, that's fine.
All right. And the next thing you see in your stack of papers will be the release of information. That is a paper that we have all clients fill out. It just allows us to talk to different people on your behalf.
Could you explain that a little more? What are you, different people like who would that entitle?
So it would be anyone that you give us permission to speak with. So for example, some clients give us permission to collaborate with their doctor. So in order for us to talk to like your primary care physician, we would have to have a release of information. They wouldn't be able to just call us and get information. Some people prefer that we share information with a close family member. It's totally up to you who you list on your release of information.
And none of this would be disclosed to like my employer?
No, it only would be disclosed to anyone who you have on your release of information. And you also get to check what we tell them. So we could just tell them, she came to therapy. We don't have to share our notes with them or anything like that. You have complete control over what we tell people and who we tell.
Well, I'm just so new at this. I'm really trying to wrap my mind around this. So if, when you would release the information, would like the title of what you're doing come out like drug addiction therapist or trauma therapist? I mean, would that be disclosed? Because I think people would know that I'm in here for those types of things. That's what I'm kind of really worried about. I'm just really nervous about this whole process.
Right. So as I stated, it would be whatever you want me to disclose. I could just say that I am your counselor. I don't necessarily have to say what I'm working with you about.
Okay.
But if you decide, because some people, when their doctors are prescribing medication for them, they might want to know what they're working in therapy for. Like if you're here for depression, they can work with you and give you some antidepressants if you don't have that psychiatrist that is prescribing medication for you. So it's not used to put your business out there.
Okay.
It's just used to collaborate with whoever you decide you want to collaborate with, which could be a doctor, a family member, anybody like that. But like I said, if they're not listed on the form, we won't be discussing any of your information with them.
Okay. Can I ask this one more question?
Oh, as many questions as you would like.
Is this therapy like this individual therapy, or would there be a time that I would bring other people in, or how does that whole thing work?
So this is an individual therapy session. As we get more into the thick of things about why you're here, what problems you're going through, what brought you here, when we come up with your treatment plan, then we can decide, would it be helpful for you to bring your family in here if you're having issues with your family, if you're having issues with a significant other? Would it be helpful to bring your significant other into the counseling room? So it really just depends on what we decide together. We work collaboratively. What would be the best treatment plan for you?
Okay, thank you so much.
So does that make you feel a little better about policies and procedures before we get started?
Somewhat, yes.
Well, like I said, feel free if you have any questions while we're talking, feel free to ask them and I'll try to my best ability to answer those questions.
Okay, thank you so much.
So let's get started, Carlitha. Why are you here today? What brought you to therapy today?
Well, as you can see, because of the number of questions that I'm asking, I'm a little anxious, and my anxiety is just high. And it's around the holiday time right now, and I'm a little nervous about. I wouldn't say a little nervous. I'm extremely nervous about going home for the holiday. My family, I'm here in the city by myself. I don't really have any family here that per se to reach out to. My family is all they're in Fort Wayne. So we all get together in Fort Wayne for the holiday season. When it gets closer to that time, my anxiety just really ramps up and I don't sleep. My eating habits turn really bad and I'm just kind of shut down at times. And the reason behind that is, like I was explaining, when I have to get together with my family. Now, I love my family dearly, love them with my heart. But when I get together, I feel, I don't know if it's the anxiety or depression or a combination of both. Okay. That when my siblings, I have 5 siblings, and they're all doing much better than me. And that's constantly brought up in a roundabout way. Not, oh, Carlitha, you're not doing what you're capable of doing. Not blatant, but it's just constantly thrown at me in these little sneaky ways that just ramps me up. So after getting together with them and sitting around the dinner table and hearing them talk about all the accomplishments that they've done and what their family's doing. And I'm a single parent, okay. So, I don't have a significant other, or my child's father has not been involved. But, of course, my siblings are all married and they have their children and they have their little picket fence with the White House and the picket fence. And I constantly hear that. So as we get closer to the holiday season and I know I'm going, I just get extremely high case of anxiety about going. And then after, am I talking too much?
No, feel free. No, you are not talking. This is why, I want to know why you're here. I want to know what you're struggling with. So honestly, the more information you tell me, the better I can assist you and we can come up with a plan that's going to essentially help you make it through these holidays is what I'm feeling like you came in here seeking. Is that correct?
That's correct. I feel like I'm just rambling and I'm like, I must be talking so much. This is how I get. I'm just getting ramped up and then after it's all over and we make it through the holidays, I get back home and then I go into a depressive state. Okay. Because it's like, oh well, I just need some help, some advice, some strategies, something to cope with this upcoming season. And I don't want to get to the point where I don't want to go or I don't want to separate myself from my family because that's all I have.
Okay. So I just want to summarize that's totally fine. I just want to summarize a little bit about what you said to make sure that I heard you correctly and that we're on the same page. So what I hear you saying is with the holidays coming up, it's a very stressful and you get a lot of anxiety towards the holidays because you have to go home. What it sounds like is you live, here by yourself. The rest of your family lives back home. So you don't see them very often, but other than the holidays. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So it sounds like when you get to your family gathering, although, you do love your family dearly, you just don't feel as you're being as successful as your siblings, correct?
Correct.
So that causes you some high anxiety and a little bit of depression when the holidays are over and you're back home. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you describe to me when you get anxious when you're around your family, what type of physical reactions are you having, if any? What does your anxiety look like while you're in the room with your family eating Christmas dinner and conversation is going and something is said to make you feel anxious? What does that look like? How does that look like?
Well, I will get quiet at first, and then I try to engage. But then I don't shake or anything, but I just breathe heavily because I'm just trying to calm myself down. So I try deep breathing exercises, and they don't work sometimes. Sometimes they don't. And then I start getting a headache, and then the headache comes on, and then it could turn into a migraine depending on the severity of the headache. And then eventually I just kind of shut down, you know. And I just,
So I do want to commend you. The deep breathing is actually a really good coping skill for those that are experiencing anxiety. So the fact that you already are doing that in the midst of your anxiety, that is very commendable. So I do want to commend you. And I definitely think that that is something that you should continue in your moments of anxiety. So Curly, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Tell me a little bit about why you feel like you're not as successful. I know you mentioned that you are a single mother and that your siblings have kids and they all are with their spouses or their child's father, and you don't feel accomplished because you're no longer with your child's father. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
sure, and that's just a little piece of why I don't feel like I'm up to their standards. We're all raised in a two-parent home.
Okay.
Um, my dad was a doctor when he was living. My mom was an attorney. She doesn't practice anymore, but she was an attorney. So, of course, we all went to college. They went on the path of what my parents went. I decided that I wanted to be in education. Well, when you compare education salary to attorney salary, it's really a big difference. Of course, they all married prominent people who were in their field. I did not want to get married, but just didn't happen. Um, so besides them, doing much better financially and emotionally, and the status, keeping that name, I'm not. I just feel like I let everybody down. I'm and I don't even know if I'm happy with myself anymore on the path that I chose. Maybe I should have went another way. I'm just so confused at times. I shut down, and then that's when that depression kind of sinks in because here I am. I'm rambling again. I don't mean to do this. I'm just rambling.
Perfectly fine.
I second guess myself. What did I do wrong?
Okay. So I'm going to ask you this. When you are at work and you are teaching and you're in the front of the classroom and you're in front of your students, how do you feel? Do you feel like you're making a difference? Do you feel accomplished? What are some of the feelings you experience when you see your kids, when you see your kids succeeding, and when you see your kids gravitating towards you? What do you feel as you're performing your day-to-day career?
I love it. I like to see, I teach smaller children, so I like to see that growth in the kids. I like to relate to their families. That at their times I feel like I relate better to their families than I do my own family. So I really like to see, beginning of the year, what they look like and what they come in the end of the year. Just the thank yous. So I get that from my kids, my students. I get that from their parents. I don't get that from my immediate family.
So it sounds like you are an excellent educator and you are making a difference in the life of your students, and they're noticing it. Their parents are noticing it. Their other family members are noticing it. But you just don't feel as if your family is noticing the impact that you are making in your career. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes.
Does your family ever ask you questions about your career? Have you ever taken, the time to explain to them, what you do or anything like that? Or is that a conversation that is generally not held at the family gatherings?
It's not held on my discussion. It's more of a, oh, I delivered 6 babies today, and what did you do, Carletha? Oh, okay. Oh, Jackie, what happened at your job? It's kind of one of those types of conversation that just glosses over me, and then that's when I just get anxious, and then I'm just like, okay, why am I here? And I want to end my vacation, end the holidays early, and then I'll go back to my house with my child, and it's just the two of us, and then it's lonely, and the depression, I get depressed, and when I'm depressed, I know I'm not helping my kid. I feel like I'm doing my own child a disservice. I just feel like I'm just caught up in this cycle, and I just kind of want to figure out where do I do? Where do I go next?
So when you get depressed, what does that look like? For some people, depression looks like isolating. It might look like bad eating habits, bad sleeping habits. Some people might have a little bit of rage with depression. So what does depression look like for you?
Well, I just kind of named everything that I go through.
Okay.
It's just a cycle.
Okay.
I want to be isolated, and then sometimes the isolation is just not me. I feel like I'm neglecting my child because I don't want to be around my child. And then if my child does what typical 4-year-olds would do, it's typical, but to me, I just like just get on them. Like, wait a minute, you can't do that. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in that stage. Eating, what's that sometimes? My child eats it, but I may not want to eat.
Okay.
So it's kind of that vicious cycle, and then I will eventually I do like come out of it because I know, okay, I gotta go to work. So I can go to work and I can function, and then I come back and I do good for a while. But then when something comes up that involves my family, I can feel it coming back on again. So I don't want to not be around my family because, like I said, I don't have anybody here.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be around them. I want my mom to see her grandchild as much as possible. But I just can't take that feeling of when I'm going there, what's to come. That anticipation is just horrid.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question. It may sound a little bizarre, but I like to ask this question to my clients. So if you were to go to sleep today and you were to wake up tomorrow and it would be your perfect, ideal life, what would that look like?
To be able to enjoy being around all of my siblings and my mom and all of my family, have a good time, have them appreciate. I wouldn't even say appreciate, but have them acknowledge what I do is valuable and that everybody's path is not their path and I chose this path, and just acknowledge that this path is where I should be going. I'm good at what I do, and just as good as I am in my path, they're good at what they do. So maybe just some acknowledgement and just to want to go. Christmas is coming. I don't want to go, but I feel like I have to go.
So I first want to let you know that everything that you are desiring, the goals that you want to meet, they're absolutely obtainable. I also want to point out, earlier in the session, you said that you just felt like you were confused and you didn't even know if, you were happy with the path you chosen. But the more we talk, I see that you are happy with the path that you've chosen, and you do realize that you are a good educator and you just want other people to see that value as well. So I think it's important that you hold on to your own beliefs in this, is that you are a good educator and you are making a difference. We all know teachers don't make as much as attorneys, but
sure.
If we didn't have teachers, would there be attorneys?
Yes, that's true.
So I think there's some value in just, holding on to that and having that confidence going forth. Can you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So Carletha, I think one of the biggest things we need to work on is your anxiety, how to cope with it in the moment, how to kind of reduce it going into the situations, and also your depression. Because I noticed you said after you leave, you get home and you get depressed. It's kind of like the aftermath of what happens on the holidays. So when we talk about going into situations that are very anxiety provoking, there are some techniques that you can use. The first thing you said, you did some deep breathing. How did the deep breathing help you? I think you said you did that in the thick of the anxiety. How did that help you?
Um, I'm not sure if it does. I teach it to my kids.
So when you're teaching it to your kids,
calm your body. So I teach it to my kids, and I guess I just kind of take it all in, and it just makes me like think about it, be in the moment, that type of feeling.
So you said you teach it to your kids. So when you teach it to your kids, I'm sure you have kids. Why are we doing this? What are you telling them? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing the deep breathing in these moments?
It helps you calm your body and kind of put everything else out of the way.
Excellent. So you already know the benefits of deep breathing. So,
I guess I do. I didn't really think about it for myself.
You actually know a lot more than what you thought coming into this session. So I think continuing the deep breathing and just remembering why you're doing the deep breathing. So, it's nothing to do deep breathing and just not be thinking, why am I even doing this? But you know why you're doing this. Like you teach it to your kids every day. You can do things like mindfulness, grounding yourself. These are techniques that we can go over as we continue our therapy sessions just to help you continue to reduce that anxiety in those moments.
And what is mindfulness?
So mindfulness and groundings are just some techniques that people use when they have bad anxiety.
Okay.
So as we continue, there are things that I want to continue to work on with you as we develop a treatment plan going forward. So we will definitely learn more about those things going forward.
Okay.
As far as your depression, I would like to just find some ways that help you get out of that depression. If and how often are you falling into that depression? Is it only after you see your family, or is it frequently throughout, your day or your weeks? Is it just that specific time?
It's only after I go and I'm in those types of situations with, unfortunately, my family. When I'm at home and I'm with my friends that are here. We're all kind of on the same level, and we talk about things and we do things, and it's not you should be further along in your career, things like that. It's just when I'm there with them after I get out of the anxiety and I'm home, and I guess I start thinking about, well, maybe if they're right. And then that's when it kind of seems to come over me, the sadness.
So it sounds like when you're back home, you're not with your family anymore on the holidays, you have a really good support system here. You have your friends. You said you guys are kind of on the same level. They might be educators too, or similar field, so they have things in common with you. I like to tell my clients to definitely use that support system to help draw them out of that space of depression. So when you're feeling depressed, reach out to a friend, just talk to a friend and see, do you think that that's something that you would that be helpful for you to do, since you have such a great relationship and such a great support system while you're here?
I can try that.
Okay. So Carlitha, it sounds like we have a treatment plan going forward. We got some goals. You want to be able to go around your family and not feel kind of less than. You want to be able to not have anxiety and to just really enjoy your family time. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it sounds like we're going to work on, reducing your anxiety before you go, when you're in the anxiety provoking situation. If you get caught up in that anxiety, we're going to work on how you can get out of that. We're going to work on your depression, and we're going to work on using your support system as a tool to kind of get you out of that depressive state. Are there any other things that you can think of that you might want to work on through our journey together in this counseling session?
Well, that's a lot right there.
It is a lot. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot
It's a lot.
to take on. You gave me a lot of information, so I had a lot to work with. So I definitely just want to make sure that I have captured everything and that there was nothing that I left out when we were discussing. If there's more, please tell me.
No.
But I appreciate you coming into this session being very open and vulnerable. Some people, you said you were very anxious. Some people come in here and they're very shut down. They don't really know where to start. And you did a great job. You gave me all the pieces I needed. You made my job actually a little easier today. So I do want to commend you on that. And you came in with a great tool set. I don't even know if you know you had it,
Nope.
but you had
Nope.
you had a great toolbox to your disposal. Again, you have the support system. You teach your kids deep breathing, which we all need deep breathing. When you get angry, when you get anxious, deep breathing can definitely help you get out of that. You're confident in your own career and you know that you're making a difference. So you have that confidence, and that's a great toolbox to have. So we can take all of those tools that you already have and we can put them to use so that we can meet your goals going forward. Because like I said, when you told me about your ideal life, all of that is completely obtainable.
Okay.
So, Carlita, as we end this session, tell me a little bit about how you're feeling going forth. I know you said you are a little anxious.
I'm a little
everything.
anxious. I'm
So
a little nervous.
we're going to spend the last 3 or 4 minutes or so. Just tell me how you feel about our plan going forth. Are there specific things you want to change, or are you okay with the plan?
I'm a little nervous. I think the plan sounds really good. I mean, I think those are some things that I can definitely try. And maybe in this journey together, there may be something else. If something else comes up, could be like, I may discover something else. That's what I'm thinking. If I discover something else, we would handle that along the line.
Right. So if you come into session next week and something happened throughout the week and you want to talk about that, we can totally talk about that.
Okay.
I don't want you to feel as if we only have to talk about this issue today.
Okay.
We have a journey together, and I want to be able to help you and come alongside you and work on whatever it is to help you get where you want to be.
Okay. Okay.
So I hope
I'll
that
try
provides
it.
you
I'll
some
try it.
reassurance. Okay.
Yeah, I can try it.
So as we end this session today, I just want to let you know that if you go home today and you start to have some really bad anxiety, because we talked about a lot, right? We talked about a lot. Or you find yourself slipping into a depression, and you just find out, you need a little extra push and someone else to talk to. You can always call the front office and schedule an additional session. You don't have to say, oh, well, she said I can only come once every week. It doesn't work like that. I like to work alongside my clients. So if you leave today and say, today being Monday, and say, I need to come back on Wednesday, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
I don't want you to feel like you're restricted or you can't call and ask those things.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Any questions about remaining questions about the forms that I've given you or anything of that sort?
No, these are self-explanatory. These are fine.
Okay, so if you could just work on filling those forms out before you leave. Again, I just want to make sure you have all the policies and procedures so that you know what to expect from me going forth and what the therapy situation is going to look like. And if you're filling out the forms and you find out, hey, I did not ask her about this, please feel free to ask me about that, because I want to make sure that this is a comfortable setting for you, that we're working alongside each other and we're getting everything we need done. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank you for coming in today. And like I said, thank you for opening up and sharing. I was able to learn a lot about you. I hope you were able to learn a little bit about me. And I'm really looking forward to our time together and just working through things.
Well, thank you very much. It was so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Like I said, Carlita, give me a call anytime. Don't be afraid or anxious. Just, reach out to me if you need to.
Okay. be careful what you ask for. I just don't know.
And that's what we're here for. We're going to reduce that anxiety, and we're going to get you down there. You're going to feel comfortable. It's going to take some work. I might have some homework to give you one session because you got to do work in therapy and outside of therapy. But I do believe that you can get to your goals.
Okay, thank you so much. I thought I was going to come in here, have to lay on a couch and start, the TV therapist. I'm like, oh no, I don't know if I can do that. But I really feel comfortable. I know I said a lot. I said a lot. But if it's going to work, I feel like I've got to put it all out there. So I'm anxious to get here again. I'm anxious to get this process going.
Well, we will certainly do that, Carlita. I look forward to seeing you on the next session.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.